Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here with TFL Bike, Cases behind the camera, and we have a really exciting motorcycle here at the office today. We actually just bought it. It's the new Aprilia Tuareg 660, and we're stealing Tommy's segment here. We're gonna do a little gadgets and gizmos on it, and basically just walk you through every single detail on this bike and see what it's all about.
Let's start with what actually motivates the Tuareg. This is a 659cc parallel twin engine, the same 660 platform that you're going to find in other Aprilia motorcycles. Some slight differences. In this application, it makes 79 horsepower and 51 pound-feet of torque through a 6-speed transmission.
As far as brakes go, up front you have dual 320mm discs with Brembo calipers, and then in the rear a 260mm disc, also of course with a Brembo caliper. This bike does have ABS, but you can switch it off, so I'll show you how to do that in the tech section, but you can disable it for just the rear wheel or both wheels at the same time.
Propping up the front end of the Tuareg are 43mm KYB fully adjustable forks with 9.5 inches of travel. It's also 9.5 inches of travel around the rear, and that's also a fully adjustable monoshock. Here's your preload adjustment for the rear shock. Now this is right now set up for Roman's weight, which means the preload is actually completely maxed out. So if you're on the heavier side for a rider, you're not going to have any preload left over for passengers or luggage. And then on the other side, you also have your compression and rebound adjustments.
Speaking of passenger accommodations, you do have a nice flat seat here with a big area on the back for a passenger. You have passenger pegs down here, and one thing I do like about the design, they give you a little indentation here, so if you're the kind of person that doesn't like to hug who you're riding behind, you can throw your hands in there and they're nice and safe out of the way. You have a good spot to hold on.
The Tuareg is built out of a steel tube chassis, although there are some aluminum components like the swing arm, and your seat height is 33.8 inches, and it's a 450-pound bike wet. So walking up to it, it does feel pretty large. Now in front of me here, you have a 4.7 gallon fuel tank, and Aprilia claims 58.8 miles per gallon.
All right, let's talk about wheels and tires. I'll start with the wheels because they're pretty similar to the bike we actually traded in to get this bike. That was the Triumph Scrambler 1200 XC, and it had a very similar wheel where it was tubeless and the spokes kind of sat on the outside of the wheel here to make it seal right. And this uses a very similar setup. They're very cool in this silver color. I like the look of that a lot. And then for tires, we have Pirelli Scorpion Rally STR tires, which seem to be a pretty popular choice for this kind of on-road adventure bike. Pretty big lugs here, but definitely some decent tread blocks to get you through the dirt if you need to. And you're looking at a 150 width rear and a 90 width front. And in the rear, this is an 18-inch wheel, up front 21-inch.
One of the ways that the Tuareg really sets itself apart from the other bikes on the market is the way that it looks, and especially in this color scheme. This does cost just a little bit extra, and we'll talk about price at the end of the video, but I would say it's worth the money because this is a really unique color combo. You've got this very classic looking blue and white, but then they threw in some lavender and some red, and then moving down, another styling but also functional element that we like a lot is the fact that it has a skid plate. It's nice that it has one, although this center section of the skid plate doesn't seem like the sturdiest. Above the headlight, you have a large windscreen. It's not adjustable, but it is big enough to block a fair amount of wind. You've also got large handguards here. This is a large and tall bike, and as such, it has a large and long kickstand. That is one of the more impressive kickstands I think I've ever seen on a motorcycle. And then something that I think is interesting is this shape that's made its way across a bunch of different components on the bike. It's this unique three-pronged accent that looks pretty similar to some of the styling accents that you find on like Lamborghini taillights, for example. So maybe this is just an Italian thing.
All right, let's talk about tech a little bit. We'll fire up this 5-inch TFT, and you can see we've got some dummy lights out on the outside. Before I dive into it, you do have a little bar up here where you can mount accessories and a old school USB-A port for charging up your phone or charging up devices if you need to. But now we can get into the screen. It's very colorful, very bright, definitely looks super crisp and feels premium. We can cycle through our different riding modes using the button on the right handlebars. So we're in off-road. You can also go into individual, explore, or urban. And then you also have this left handlebar control where you can go through and check your fuel economy, things like that. You can adjust your traction control levels, and really just cycle through everything. Now when you go into off-road mode, you can see that rear ABS and ATC, which is Aprilia traction control, are disabled. You can see that also down here, showing a little arrow pointing to the rear wheel. But if we hold the ride mode button in while we're in off-road mode, now you can see ABS is fully off, traction control is off. And that's really what you want for the dirt. You don't want the bike making decisions for you. So really cool that you can adjust that and really customize it. We can cycle back to just the rear mode or go back into a different riding mode, and that will turn ABS on and put it back to normal. Also, I do like this button here. You can cycle through between your running lights or your headlights. So if you're off-road, maybe you just want the running lights on, you have that option, which is pretty cool. And then over here on the left side, we also have cruise control, so you can turn it on and then adjust your speed using this toggle right here. Did want to just give you a quick peek under the seat here. On the underside of the seat, I was expecting to see a toolkit or something, but nothing there. But we can peek at what's underneath here. The cool thing is you do have really easy access to your fuel pump, so if you have any issues off-road, you don't need to start pulling a bunch of body pieces to get to that. Also, we have a lightweight battery in here. That's one of the things you get for the extra $500 or $600 when you step up to this paint package. They also give you this higher end battery as part of that whole deal. Also, right here at the front of the motor, oil filter is really easy to access. Case was saying how this skid plate is not the sturdiest thing in the world, but the fact that it has this cut down the middle of it does mean that pulling it off to gain access to your oil filter is going to be a pretty easy process.
Now this Aprilia comes in at $11,999 to start, but this paint job is $600 extra, so $12,599 if you get it with this color scheme. And that places this directly in competition with the Tenere 700. And if any of you out there have a Tenere 700 that you'd like to bring to us, so we can put these two bikes together and show them side by side, we would love that. So reach out to us at ask@tfltruck.com. And if you want to see some more footage with this Tuareg, when we picked it up, we did a video running it on the dyno to find out the true power figure, and we also in that same video went through and set up the suspension, went through all of the different rebound, compression, preload settings. So if you want to see even more detail about this bike and its setup process, check out that video that's already on the channel, and we'll catch you all in the next one.